Hello again, my friends. Thank you for joining me. Another day of happy arting. Um, Today I wanted to show you, I want to show you this little book. So I did an online class with Sandy Keene and Ray Missigman. I think that's how you pronounce her name. Called Pocket Doc. And it's a really great class. So if you're at home and you need something to do, that would be a great class to buy and do. So you get to make this little book, and then, oh, I have dogs, and they like to bark at everything. So anyway, you get to make the little book, and then you make these signatures, and each signature is for 1 month. Rosa. So that was Rosa. So you get to make a signature for each month, and they have, when you go through the class, they have different sections for memory keeping and list making. But the one that I wanted to show you today is called Daily Lines. And they've been doing these single line drawings of florals and botanicals, and I've really been enjoying them. So I've decided to start doing them on larger paper because I like doing them in here. They're really fast and they're fun, but I think I'd like to make them a little bigger and then cut them out to use in my art journal. So the whole one line thing, I had kind of gotten into it because I saw these abstract faces, and so I started doing a couple of these. So I had already been in the one line mode, and then so when I took this class and I saw those one line florals, I was like, oh, I want to do that. So now I do have a board on Pinterest that I've been collecting, and I think it's Sandy Keene also has a board. So I'll try to grab some links and throw them down below. But today, to do those bigger drawings that then I can fussy cut and put in a journal, I have some Strathmore mixed media paper. I had just a couple of sheets left in this pad, so I went ahead and pulled those out. And then I have one lonely little sheet of Bristol paper. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that out and use this. Now, you know, this backer board you should never ever throw away. I've never thrown them away because I've always figured, oh, I could use them some way. If you have a die cutting machine and that can use the Sizzix XL dies, you can cut this stuff out. But this little book, this is actually made from one of these and then cover it with vinyl. So that's yet another reason to keep them. So never throw them away. Just add it to, you know, your hoarding pile that we all have. So, single line drawings. I think it was this month that they started, Sandy and Ray started adding watercolor to their drawings, which I think I would have gone there anyway, especially now that I think about wanting to add them into my journal. So I do have some watercolor. This is just a little palette that was left over from one of my workshops that a friend had given back to me, and it still has some paint, so I might as well use it. And then the pen I'm going to use is a platinum carbon ink pen. This ink is waterproof. I usually heat set it just a tiny bit. I don't think you have to, but I'm always a little leery of any pen that says that it's waterproof, so I will heat set it just a tiny bit when we're done. These pens you can get on Amazon. I think they're around $8 or $9, and then you can get refills for them, so it's not super expensive. It is a fountain pen shape. I'll try to, there. But it has a really great line. You'll see as we start drawing, but it's just one of my favorite pens to use. A friend from class had recommended it, and I liked it so much, I think I've bought 3 of them now. So I actually do like to use Pinterest to give me some ideas. I think some people think that artists just pull stuff from their heads, and I'm sure some do, but I don't. I do like to look at something and see, and just, you know, let my hand follow, and I'm not exactly copying, but I think a lot of it is just memory of your hand and how you move things, so the more you do it. Some of the flowers I could do without ever looking at them. So I pulled up, this is Sandy Keene, this is her Pinterest board, and she has a board for botanical line drawings, so I like to go there. And she has a separate folder for Pocket Docs, so I think these are the ones that she has done in her pocket, or maybe these are the inspiration, because I don't recognize all of them. But I'll try to remember to go ahead and put a link down there. But you can see they're just, some of them are really loose, some of them are really detailed. Like I'm not doing anything that detailed. To me, and because you're doing one, so if you don't know, one line means you put your pen down and you don't pick it up until you're done. So go ahead and get scared now. So there's a good example. And I think I've done something similar to that, because I think that might have been one that I looked at. So I'm going to do one from a picture, and then I'll do the one that is very easy for me because I've done it the most. I might try to do something like this, but I'm just going to do a single flower because I know that I want to be able to fussy cut these. So I'm just going to focus more on that top one. Here's the one thing I always want to do with this pen, but it doesn't do that. But I haven't lost a cap yet, so I'm pretty sure you won't either. Alright, here's the scariest part, is putting your pen down, because you know you can't pick it up. Not like anybody knows, but let's just say they do. And you can see I'm trying to make something similar, but it's more just to have a place for my hand to move and something to think about. I like to come back and go over my lines a second time because I think it makes them look a little less intentional, and I like that messy look. And I do find that once I kind of get in this routine, it's very easy for me just to go and do something, and I don't have to really look at my picture anymore. It's almost like I have to give myself some confidence that, oh, I can do this, and then I'm off and running. And even if they don't show it in the picture, I always like to add a leaf, or sometimes two. And I like to add some squiggles at the base of my flowers. And then I'm done. So I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to let these sit to the side, and I'll show you the one that I do the most often. I've done this one a lot in my abstract watercolors class. I've never done it with one line. I draw it, you know, picking my pen up, but it's the shape that I recognize that my hand can make the easiest. And I'm not really sure what flower it is. I think the closest would probably be a lotus, but I can't even say that for sure. But this is the one that I could probably make in my sleep, and I might, for all I know, because I'm asleep. But like I said, I find the messier and the looser my hand is, that the better it looks to me. Add my leaf. Add my squiggles at the base. And I'm done. And there's another one. So I'll do one more. Let me look at one of these that I've done. Once I've done it once, I do like to see, that was pretty similar to that one. That one just is more natural to me. I've done some other ones. Oh, look. Leaves even on the same side. See what I mean? That one's pretty natural. Oh, I'm going to do this one. I'm pretty sure I was looking at something when I did this one. Just because that's not my normal. All those petals overlapping make me nervous. But I'm going to look at this one while I'm doing it. So just clip my book open. And so they do one of these every day in their line book. I think it's called the Daily Line section. But like I said, it's a great class. I had a lot of fun making the book, because we know that I love making books. But I also have enjoyed making the little signatures. I have to start making some more signatures, because I have January, February, and March, and we're getting close to the end of March, so I need to get some more signatures done. The hardest part for me on this one is remembering to leave a spot for my center, because I just want to fill it up. And it's not exactly the same, but... And I do usually come in, because I'm not comfortable with this flower shape, I come in and I do all my petals, and then I'll come back around and I'll do those other fussy lines around. So you're just kind of tracing, and I'm holding my pen pretty loose. You can see I'm not holding it all the way down at the bottom as if I were writing in my journal or anything. I try to hold it a little looser because I believe it makes the shapes look a little more organic. If you hold your pen really tight, it starts to look like you were trying to put that stroke in, and then to me I start to notice all the little flaws, where if it's always messy, you don't notice the flaws because it looks like you did them on purpose. So I'll do my center. I just do it with squiggly lines. And I always try to make it a little off shape, because nothing in nature is completely perfect. Like circular. Go ahead and add my stem. I'm going to add another leaf over here. I always look at everything one more time before I pick up that pen, just to make sure I've got everything the way I want, and then I'm done. So there's 3 quick little sketches. So now I'm going to come back and just drop some watercolor into them. So I'm going to go ahead and spray these, get them a little more watery, or not a little, get them watery. They're very dry. And then I'm just going to use my water brush because I have it handy. There's no reason you have to paint these normal flower colors if you don't want to. I'm just going to... I know that most of my journal pages tend to lean towards blues and greens, so I do tend to color my focal points in warm colors so that they stand out. But I don't know, I might do that one in teal. If you've been following me, there was a painting I did in October or November that was a giant abstract flower. It was like a 4 foot by 5 foot canvas. And it was pretty close to that shape, and it was a teal flower. So, not only do I like that shape, but I also like teal flowers. What a surprise. So just filling in, and I'm not going to I'm not trying to be perfect. Like, I like when the watercolor runs over, because remember, I'm going to be fussy cutting these. So I would actually like if it runs over a little bit, because then when I cut it out, I'm not going to have that little white border that goes all the way around. And I'll let those dry, and I might come back and add a little more. I think there's dog hair in my watercolor. Wow, what a surprise. So that first color I used, I know, was Daniel Smith Opera Pink. And then this is a green gold from Core Watercolors. Core is made by Golden, and it's between that and Daniel Smith, those are my favorite watercolors. Just add a little, and I'll pick up, this is a Cascade Green, this one's from Daniel Smith. So I'll just add a little bit in there. And I'll get my brush a little more wet, just so I can move that around a little easier. I just create a little pool of water, so then the color will flow on its own. And I'll just let that one dry for a minute, and we'll go ahead and move on. So, get some teal. I actually like this greenish teal that I have in here, so I color these in. Again, my brush is pretty loose in my hand, because again, I'm not, if I start doing this, I know that I need to loosen up. So I try to hold my brush kind of in the middle, and it just kind of rests on my hand, and then I can just kind of scribble. I think I'll add a little bit of this dark blue in the center while it's nice and wet, because that'll just bleed until it dries. A little more of the green. That one's looking good. And last one. You know, I never know what my flowers are. I mean, you know, somebody may look at that and see one thing. This, to me, this looks like one of those cabbage roses, or maybe the climbing roses, but it doesn't have to be anything. I mean, really, what is that thing? So that's the great thing about abstracts. If somebody asks you, oh, is that a rose? You can say, yep. And then the next person asks you, oh, is that a peony? Yep. But you know it's a flower, and that's the important part. So I'm adding some of the red. And I can't remember what red that is right now. I have a feeling that's a Core color. And then I'm just going to get my brush wet. I'm going to fill in the white spots with more water, because then as I come in and I'm going to add this Opera Pink, I can just tap it in. So the flower will still read as mostly red, but it'll just have these little splotches of pink that'll kind of suggest where the sun is hitting it, because it's a little brighter. Color that underneath of the center, because the white was standing out to me. I think I'll grab just a little more red. I want to make the bottom of this a little darker. You can see how that water, now that it's really wet, how that watercolor starts to pull into the wet areas. Alright, I'll hit the stem. This one I'm going to make the darker green, just because this darker green is going to really stand out against the red, more so than the green gold. I'll still add a little bit of green gold, but the base of this will be this dark Cascade green. And sometimes, like I notice here that the watercolor is a little heavy, so sometimes I'll just pull some of that off so that I can see my pen lines underneath. And then instead of green gold, I might actually add a little bit of yellow. Again, just kind of suggesting like where the sun might be hitting. And I'll add a little bit into the center there because that'll tie it together. But I am going to add more water here because that'll help blend it out so it won't look like just a spot of yellow. And let that one dry. I'm going to come back to this one. So to me this pink looks a little flat right now. So I think I'm going to just clean the center of this plastic palette because I want to have a little bit of area to mix. I know I just wasted paint. Wasn't much there though. So I'm going to grab a little bit of the opera pink that we used, but then I'm going to grab some of this red and add that in. That was a lot of red. Let's add a little more pink. Oh, and you know what? I might add a little yellow. Now that's too orange. Do you all mix your colors too? Very rarely. Now teal I use straight all the time. Opera pink I use straight all the time. But a lot of times I like to mix my colors. I just think it makes them a little more interesting. The only problem is I can never recreate it again because I don't remember. You can see how exact I was measuring everything. So just adding a little bit. And you can see I'm kind of dabbing my brush. To me that's a really harsh line there, so I'm going to try to fix that. Get my brush wet again. Try to pick up hopefully something that's more opera pink. And just start to blend that a little bit. This would be easier if I just grabbed my watercolor brushes, but they're way up there on a shelf. They're like 3 feet away from me, but then I'd have to go get clean water. And that's all the way in the kitchen. Can't do that. Okay, so that's already looking a little more interesting to me. But this one too, I think I need some yellow. Just adds a little bit of dimension to it. And I don't want these to be too crazy because if they're going in my art journal, they're probably going to be sitting on a crazy wild background page. So they'll be the calmest thing on the page. So I don't need them to stand out, but I also don't want them just to look flat and boring. So I'm happier with that. I like this. I like this leaf. I just need a little more color in here. As watercolors dry, they tend to, most of them tend to lighten a little bit. There's a few colors that get darker, but most of them get a little lighter. So that's why you can come back and add a second coat. So I'm pretty happy there. We'll let that one dry. Let's come back to our blue unknown flower. By the way, this is just a baby wipe. If I'm using a water brush, I like to have one handy. You can clean it off on your paper, but it does make it a little easier if you have a baby wipe. So I grabbed some of the Cascade green and I'm just gonna Try to move that around on that leaf a little bit. Pull it down the stem. Get my brush wet and blend out the edge. And I can always add a bit of green gold back in. And then I think I need to deepen the teal. Oh, that's a lot. Alright, let's move that around. That was a lot of pigment and not much water. So here's a lesson in when you put down too much pigment. Again, get your brush wet, clean it off. Lift and clean it off. Now on this paper, I don't want to scrub too much. It's mixed media paper, so it can handle a little bit, but it will start to pill up if you're really working it. I kind of like that because it forces me to not overwork it. So, keeping with the theme, I think we might need some yellow. Just a little touch here and there. There. I'm pretty happy with that one. And then funny, this one, the one that I was most worried about, is the one I like the most. So again, I'm just going to come in and add a second layer, but just in certain areas. And here I am kind of paying attention to the petal shape. Rosa's seeing another squirrel and she's letting him know to get out of her yard. So just darkening here and there. I like how it dries and you get almost like that little watermark, because to me that just reads as dimension on the petals. So I'm pretty happy with that one. And I'm pretty happy with the leaf. So I think I'm going to leave those the way they are, and I'm going to let them dry. And then I will probably go ahead and fussy cut them. I have a little bin that I keep on my desk. For a while I was doing flowers on book pages and then watercoloring them. So I've already have those all fussy cut out. So I'll probably go ahead and fussy cut these and throw them in there. And then you may see them pop up in a journal someday. So have fun, do some one-line drawings with me, look for some more, look for faces if you want to try faces instead of flowers. But have a great day, and I will see you next time. Happy arting!